Welcome. You've made it here, and that already means something. If you find comfort in this space, if these words bring you even a moment of quiet, you're warmly invited to subscribe, to like this video, or leave a gentle comment below, not out of obligation, but simply to mark a place you can return to on the nights that feel heavy. Now, let's begin. There is a kind of silence that doesn't ask for words. A silence that arrives after the noise of the day has settled, after the dishes are done, after the notifications have gone quiet, after the performance of being okay has gently unraveled into something much more honest. It's that hush that wraps around you when you're finally alone, but not quite at peace. You're lying there, your body tired, but your heart still awake, full of something you can't name. It's not sadness exactly. It's not stress. It's not even loneliness in the way the world defines it. It's a quiet, invisible weight, pressed just beneath the surface. A heaviness that doesn't scream, it sighs. It sits in your chest, in your shoulders, in your breath. And no matter how many hours you slept last night, or how productive you were today, this weight doesn't lift. And maybe you've started to wonder if something is wrong with you. Maybe you've looked around at people who seem to carry life with ease, who smile without forcing it, who don't overthink every small thing, and you've asked yourself, why can't I? But let me tell you something, softly, gently, truthfully. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not failing at being human. You're just full. Emotionally full. You've reached your capacity. The quiet kind that doesn't announce itself with dramatic breakdowns, but with a subtle withdrawal. A fading of energy, a quiet retreat inward, a growing fog where there used to be clarity. This isn't weakness. This isn't defeat. This is the language of your nervous system, whispering that it's had enough stimulation, enough noise, enough pretending, enough holding it together. You didn't collapse. You've just been strong for too long, without rest. You've been managing too much. Maybe things even you can't name. Micro decisions. Unspoken disappointments. Invisible griefs. The emotional labor of showing up when your soul just wanted to disappear for a while. And in the stillness of night, when the world no longer needs you to perform, you finally feel the full weight of what you've been carrying. Of course you're tired. Of course you're overwhelmed. That doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're human. Even the ocean has tides. Even the sky has clouds. Even the moon disappears, and no one calls her broken. So why should you? There is no shame in needing rest. There is no failure in needing space. There is no weakness in needing time to feel again, to come home to yourself slowly, without pressure. Tonight, let that be enough. Let this be your moment. Not to fix, not to change, not to figure everything out, but to breathe. To soften into the truth that you are worthy of gentleness, even if you didn't accomplish anything today. Even if you feel numb. Even if your heart is too tired to try. You've done more than enough. And more than that, you've felt more than enough. It's okay to need a pause. To float. To unravel. To let the silence cradle you instead of fearing it. You don't have to earn rest. You don't have to justify it. You don't need to explain why you feel the way you do. Your soul doesn't speak in bullet points. It speaks in whispers. In aches. In waves. And right now, your only task is to listen. With tenderness. With patience. With love. So lay your heart down beside mine. Let the soft weight of your breath remind you, you're still here. You've made it through every moment that once felt impossible. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to stop holding everything. Let it fall. Let it fade. Let it be. Because you are not broken. You're just tired. And that is completely okay. Pause. Gentle ambient music continues for a moment. Let this be the beginning of a slower kind of healing. No urgency. No pressure. Just stillness, and breath, and the quiet return to yourself. You are safe here. You are enough here. Rest now. There's a quiet moment, somewhere between exhaustion and awareness, where you begin to realize you've reached your limit. But instead of soft understanding, you meet it with guilt. You ask yourself, why can't I keep going? Why does this feel like too much? What's wrong with me? As if being human was ever supposed to mean being invincible. We talk so much about strength, about endurance, resilience, drive. But we rarely speak about capacity. About the quiet, invisible line that marks the edge of your emotional landscape. That line isn't a flaw. It's not a failure. It's your body's boundary. It's your nervous system telling the truth, in the only language it knows. Sometimes that truth sounds like, I can't think clearly anymore. Sometimes it sounds like, I just don't care like I used to. Sometimes it's a deep, echoing silence where feeling used to live. This is capacity. And what if you met that moment, not with blame, not with shame, but with compassion? What if reaching your limit wasn't a sign of weakness, but a signal that you've been strong for long enough? You weren't made to carry the world on your shoulders without stopping, without softening, without rest. Even the tallest trees bend gently in the wind. Even the ocean has low tides. Even the stars disappear for a while before they rise again. So why do we expect ourselves to burn endlessly? Carl Jung once said, what we resist persists. When we deny our exhaustion, when we push past our capacity, when we pretend we're fine, we don't become stronger. We become more distant from ourselves. That part of you that feels like giving up? It's not failure. It's a flare. A signal from your nervous system saying, I need stillness. I need space. I need to breathe. But we've been taught to ignore that call, to silence it, to shame it. And so it grows quiet, hides in the shadow, and becomes something harder to name, like numbness, or apathy, or anxiety that won't go away. But you don't need to resist yourself tonight. You can choose instead to respond with compassion. To say, I see you, tired one. I hear you. You've done enough for today. Let this moment be that gentle turning point. The place where you stop running from your limits and begin honoring them instead. Because limits don't make you less. They make you real. They remind you that you are not a machine. You are a living, breathing, feeling soul with rhythms and waves and soft breaking points that deserve tenderness, not judgment. And when you meet your capacity with compassion, you create space for healing. You allow your nervous system to downshift, to settle, to come home. You say to yourself, I don't need to be more tonight. I just need to be. And that changes everything. It softens the shadow. It soothes the inner ache. It tells the frightened parts of you, the ones who think everything will fall apart if you stop, that it's safe to rest. You weren't meant to be endlessly available. You weren't designed to feel everything, fix everything, all the time. You weren't meant to hold the silence of others while silencing yourself. You were meant to breathe, to feel, to release, to be held, just as you hold others. And so tonight, as the sky folds itself into stars, and the world begins to whisper itself to sleep, let this be your permission to let go, to soften your jaw, to unclench your heart, to stop reaching for one more ounce of strength. You are not a failure for needing pause. You are a human with a heart that has loved deeply, a mind that has overthought quietly, and a soul that is asking for rest. When capacity meets compassion, something sacred happens. You begin to feel again. Not all at once. Not too much. Just enough to remember who you are. Not what the world expects of you. Not what the perfectionist inside demands of you. But you. As you are. Tired. Tender. Still whole. Still worthy. So breathe here. Inhale slowly. Exhale even slower. You're not late. You're not lost. You're just arriving at the soft threshold between holding on and letting go. And you don't have to go any further tonight. Just stay. Right here. Where compassion begins. There's a story we've been told since we were small. A myth, really, passed down through glances, expectations, and well-meaning praise. It whispers, "Be strong. Don't cry. Push through. Keep going. Don't fall apart. Don't need anyone." Strength is silence. Strength is never stopping. Strength is being okay, always. And so you tried. You bit your tongue. You smiled when your heart was trembling. You said, "I'm fine," even when the loneliness was louder than your voice. You woke up when every cell in your body asked for more sleep. You carried others when you hadn't been held in a long time. Because somewhere deep inside, you believed it, that being strong meant being unshakable. That strength was armor. That rest was weakness. That needing help was something to hide. But let's pause here, together, and gently ask, is that really strength? Or is it survival? There is a difference, a quiet, powerful one. Survival is brave. It gets you through. It keeps you functioning when the world asks more of you than your spirit can carry. But survival is not the same as peace. And wearing strength like armor, for too long, makes it harder to feel your own heartbeat. Because when we constantly prove our strength, we often silence our softness. And in doing so, we begin to lose the part of us that simply wants to be known, without having to be impressive. Real strength, the kind that lasts, isn't in pretending you're okay. It's in being honest, when you're not. It's in saying, "I don't know. I need rest. I'm overwhelmed. I can't hold this right now." It's in sitting beside your pain without rushing to fix it. It's in allowing someone to witness your unraveling without apology. It's in giving yourself the grace to fall apart without making it mean you're any less whole. There is no shame in your softness. It is not a flaw. It is your humanity. The night doesn't rush the dawn. The moon doesn't apologize for dimming. A flower doesn't bloom all year long just to prove it's strong. Everything in nature rests. Everything in nature ebbs, flows, wilts, and returns. Why should you be any different? The myth of constant strength will tell you that resting means you're lazy. That softness means you're weak. That breaking down means you're losing control. But I invite you, here, in this stillness, to consider a softer truth. What if breaking down is really breaking open? What if resting is reclaiming? What if choosing to feel again, even when it hurts, is one of the bravest things you'll ever do? There's nothing weak about needing time. There's nothing wrong with stepping back when the world moves too fast. You don't have to keep proving yourself to people who can't see how much you've already carried. You don't have to be the strong one tonight. You can lay it down, all of it. The expectations, the roles, the performance, the pressure. Let it dissolve. Let the silence hold it now. Let your breath become enough. You were not meant to be perfect. You were meant to be present. To show up in your humanness. Messy. Worn. But still here. Still trying. Still worthy. So if you've spent years fighting to be strong, if you've learned to hide your trembling hands, your shaky voice, your tears that come too easily in the dark, then let this moment be a new myth. A better one. One where strength and softness can coexist. One where falling apart is not the end of the road, but a return to your true self. Tonight you don't have to rise. You don't have to fix. You don't have to explain. You can just breathe. In and out. Like waves against the shore. Slow. Gentle. True. You're not failing. You're just feeling. You're not weak. You're just becoming. And that is enough. Some things hurt, not because they're sharp, but because we've been holding them too tightly for too long. Like a rope burning into your palms as you grip it with trembling hands, not because it's helping you, but because you're afraid of what might happen if you let go. We all do it. We hold on to roles we've outgrown, to people who left long ago, but whose absence still echoes. We hold on to versions of ourselves we no longer recognize, because starting over feels too heavy when we're already tired. We hold on to guilt, to the should-haves, to the invisible ledger of our failures that only we can see. But not because we want to suffer. No. We hold on because we once believed that letting go meant we were giving up. That surrender meant we'd failed. That release meant weakness. That to stop holding was to stop caring. But there is a deeper truth. And it lives here, in this quiet. In this moment where your body rests and your mind slowly loosens its grip. Holding on is not always brave. Sometimes it's just familiar. And letting go is not always a loss. Sometimes it's how the healing begins. You see, your nervous system doesn't know the calendar. It doesn't speak the language of logic. It remembers only experience. And it will keep sounding the alarm long after the danger has passed if no one tells it, it's safe now. Sometimes we stay in survival mode out of habit, not necessity. We keep performing strength even when no one's watching. We brace ourselves for impact that never comes. We tighten our shoulders for battles that ended years ago. And all the while, our hearts whisper, "I'm so tired. I don't want to carry this anymore." Not because you're weak. Not because you're dramatic. But because you're human. And humans are not meant to be vaults of unresolved sorrow. We are not designed to suppress, ignore, and endure endlessly. We are built for release. For exhale. For flow. Even the sky lets go, in tears of rain, in the quiet of dusk. Even the trees let go, of leaves that no longer serve. Not because they've failed, but because they know, shedding is how they survive the winter. What are you still carrying that was never yours to hold? Whose expectations still live in your body like rusted anchors? What grief sits in your chest disguised as being strong? What part of your story have you been afraid to close, not because it still fits, but because you don't know who you'll be without it? It's okay to not have all the answers, to not know what comes next, to stand at the edge of your own becoming and feel scared. But just because you're afraid to let go doesn't mean you're meant to keep suffering. And just because no one else can see your ache doesn't mean it isn't real. Your softness deserves a home, not a battlefield. Your healing doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it begins in the quiet decision to loosen your grip, to whisper, "I don't have to carry this anymore." You don't need to perform pain to prove you've been through something. You don't have to justify your release to anyone, not even yourself. There is wisdom in letting go. Not the rushed kind. Not the forced kind. But the kind that comes gently. Like leaves falling into water. Like breath returning after a long cry. Like silence after noise. Tonight, let the invisible ache be seen. Let it know, you don't have to keep holding on to be worthy of love. You don't have to prove your resilience by staying in what's breaking you. Sometimes, rest begins with a soft surrender. A quiet, sacred choice to loosen the rope, to unclench the jaw, to exhale. To feel your own weight without the burden of everyone else's expectations. To finally whisper to the pieces of you that have held it together for too long. You can rest now. You're safe. You did enough. And you don't have to carry this anymore. There is a language the soul speaks long before words were ever invented. It doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. It doesn't ask for proof. It speaks in the quiet. In the slow breath you didn't know you were holding. In the moment your body finally sinks into the mattress and the world outside begins to blur. This is the quiet language of enough. It doesn't come when you're performing. It doesn't arrive in the middle of applause, or when your inbox is cleared, or when every checkbox is finally ticked. No, it comes later. After the striving. After the expectations collapse. After you've poured so much of yourself into being everything for everyone, and you're left wondering if there's anything left for you. It comes in the stillness. In the pause between efforts. In the soft silence where the truth finally has room to breathe. And that truth is this: you have always been enough. Even when you were messy. Even when you were behind. Even when all you did today was survive. Because enough isn't something you earn. It's something you remember. But we forget, don't we? We confuse productivity with value. We measure our days in output and efficiency. We believe that rest is earned instead of essential. And when we break down, Emotionally, physically, spiritually, we whisper. I wasn't strong enough. But strength was never the goal. Being whole was. And wholeness doesn't look like perfection. It looks like softness. It looks like slowing down. It looks like breathing through the ache instead of burying it. The world may never applaud you for doing less, for pausing, for attending to your inner life. But here in this space, you are not asked to prove anything. You are allowed to be weary, to be undone, to be human. Let that sink in for a moment. You are allowed to be human, not a machine, not a constant giver, not a collection of achievements. Just a being. Soft. Tired. Real. A being who has given so much. Who has tried so hard. Who wakes up each day and still carries on even when no one sees the weight you hold. And that is enough. More than enough. The trees do not hustle. The moon does not strive. The tide does not apologize for ebbing. There is no shame in doing less. Sometimes, the most sacred thing you can do is choose to rest in the middle of a world that insists you keep running. And rest doesn't mean you've given up. It means you are honoring the threshold of your nervous system. It means you are learning to listen to the subtle signals that whisper. You've done enough for today. You don't have to earn this breath. You don't have to deserve this quiet. You are already worthy of it. So as your body softens into the night, as the world grows quieter, let that quiet speak to you. Let it remind you that you are not defined by how much you've accomplished. You are defined by how deeply you've felt, by how gently you've cared, by how bravely you've kept going through invisible storms. You don't need to carry another lesson tonight. You don't need to grow, or heal, or transform. Not now. Now you are allowed to simply be. To lie here and be held by this moment. By this breath. By this stillness that asks nothing from you but your presence. And if you forget again tomorrow, if you wake up and the noise returns, remember this. There will always be a quiet place within you that already knows you were enough before the world asked you to prove it. And you are still enough now that you've stopped trying. Rest here. Let that be enough for tonight. Something beautiful happens in the stillness we so often avoid. Not a breakthrough. Not a revelation. Not a loud, cinematic moment. But something quieter. Something softer. Like the first warmth of morning light touching a frost-covered leaf. Like the hush that falls when snow begins to fall, slow, silent, sacred. This is where rest becomes rebirth. Not the kind of rebirth that demands you start over, but the kind that says, you never left yourself. You were only buried beneath the noise. Tonight you are not asked to become someone new. You are invited to return to who you've always been beneath the exhaustion, beneath the survival, beneath the layers of trying. There is something in you that is untouched by burnout, unbroken by failure, unafraid of stillness. It's the part of you that knows how to be held by silence, that remembers how to breathe without bracing, that trusts in the wisdom of simply being. And that part of you, right now, is waking up again, not with noise, but with peace. You don't need a plan. You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to climb out of anything tonight. Rest is not a pause in your journey. It is the journey. Because your nervous system is a garden. And it cannot bloom under constant fire. It needs water. It needs slowness. It needs the soft lullaby of, I am safe now. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you can believe that. Maybe, just maybe, you can let yourself be held. By the night. By your own breath. By the quiet mercy of doing nothing at all. We live in a world that worships motion. But healing happens in stillness. When your shoulders drop. When your jaw unclenches. When your heart stops running long enough to feel itself beat again. This is not giving up. This is coming home. Home to the quiet within you that's been waiting so patiently for your return. And from this place, this soft, surrendered place, a different kind of strength is born. Not the strength to carry everything, but the wisdom to know what's no longer yours to hold. Not the strength to push harder, but the grace to pause and ask your soul, what do I need to feel whole again? Maybe it's silence. Maybe it's softness. Maybe it's simply sleep. So let yourself fall into the arms of this night without guilt, without questions, without needing to earn the rest that your body has already earned 100 times over. Let your mind wander like mist curling over a quiet lake. Let your thoughts drift without needing to catch them. Let this stillness be your sanctuary. Because you did not fail. You simply reached emotional capacity. And in that reaching, you arrived at something deeper. A turning point. A moment of surrender that feels like falling apart but is actually falling into grace. The kind of grace that doesn't rush. That doesn't judge. That doesn't ask for anything more than what you can give. Which tonight is simply this: one quiet moment. One soft breath. One sacred exhale into the knowing that you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to not have all the answers. You are allowed to lay everything down now. Because this night, this silence, this stillness, is not the end. It's the beginning of something new growing silently inside of you. Something rooted not in effort, but in rest. And when you wake, whenever that is, you will not be behind. You will be softened, realigned, reconnected to what matters most. But for now, there is no need to wake. There is nothing left to do, nowhere left to go. Just the hush of being enough. Just the peace of being here. Just this breath, and then the next. Sleep well, gentle soul. You made it through. You didn't fail. You were just full. And now you are free.